The Monkey Mind Podcast, your number one platform for athletes and mental health. Hosted by Danny Perez and Anthony Florentino.
This is episode 61 featuring Rob Michel. Rob is a former professional hockey player in the Philadelphia Flyers organization and former teammate of mine at the University of Maine. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Daily Dose CBD Inc. Daily Dose CBD Inc. creates full-spectrum CBD products ranging from tinctures, balms, and dog treats. Research has shown that CBD has successful results in aiding in the following areas: anti-inflammation, anxiety, PTSD, help with breaking addiction, neuroprotection, epilepsy, arthritis, chronic pain, and sleeping disorders. Daily Dose makes an extremely safe and effective product that we know you will love, enjoy, and benefit from. Daily Dose has given Monkey Mind listeners 15% off all their orders. Head over to dailydosecbdinc.com and use promo code MonkeyMind15 for 15% off your purchases. That's promo code MonkeyMind15 for 15% off all your orders at dailydosecbdinc.com. All right, Recky, welcome onto the pod. We got Rob Michel, former college teammate of mine over at the University of Maine. Welcome on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And of course, long time coming. Excited to have your story shared out to the world. But for everyone listening, if you can just introduce yourself, tell them who you are and your background, sport you played, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like you said, name's Rob Michel, from Syracuse, New York. So growing up playing youth hockey, Syracuse Stars, and then I decided to play high school hockey here in New York for a team called West Genesee. I did that for 4 years, and then things got a little dicey, we'll say. My plan was to go play prep at Lake Placid, Northwood, and applied to the school, got in and everything. Was expected to be on the team, and I got a phone call probably the beginning of June. They're like, "Oh, we don't have a spot for you anymore." So then it was kind of full scramble mode, just trying to figure out, because that's usually when you do all like the tryouts and all the showcases and stuff. So I was kind of scrambling there for a bit. I had gotten into a few colleges just in case things didn't work out. So, in the back of my mind, I was kind of ready to kind of give up and actually go to RIT was my plan initially. And then my cousin, Sean Lynch, he was trying out for a couple teams up in Canada, and we both ended up making one, Ottawa Junior Senators. So that was kind of my next phase was up in Ottawa. Played 2 years of junior hockey there, and that's kind of where I landed my scholarship at Maine. And obviously that's where we crossed paths. So I was there for 4 years. And then we were knocked out of the Hockey East playoffs our senior year, 2019. Signed a contract with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, which is the Flyers organization. So I finished the year with them. We didn't make playoffs, so that ended in May. And then, I ended up in Reading Royals in the East Coast for 2019 up until March of 2020. And I think everyone knows kind of what happened after that. So
I want you to go back a bit and talk about kind of I guess like the earlier part of your career, and kind of, I think you have a really unique story and an awesome story. I think it's really cool that you were uncertain, applied to college, was going to go to RIT, and kind of put hockey on the back burner, and then gave it a shot. And then you were a 21-year-old freshman, age out of juniors, played Division I, and then signed an American League contract after. I feel like that's a rare story. Like the uphill climb, the scratching and clawing, and you're a hell of a player, and you made an unreal career for yourself. And I think that's really cool. And I think it's inspirational to a lot of kids who have similar stories to you of being on the cusp of, do I give this a shot? And then deciding to, and then going the whole the long haul with it, 3 years of juniors, sticking it out, top defenseman at Maine, and then getting American League. I think it's just a really cool story that you have, getting that American League contract at the end of it all too. So if you can just kind of talk about that process of like making the decisions and kind of where your headspace was at, and just kind of what caused you to persevere through so much to get to where you went.
Yeah, I think really it started in high school, where I think honestly, like I was kind of a late bloomer. And I mean, I always had like natural like skill and ability, but I honestly wasn't putting in the work like young, like you see today, like kids like 10, 12 years old, like going to gyms and like doing private lessons. I wasn't doing any of that. And so high school hockey was just kind of something like fun for me to do with my buddies. And to me, I was like, well, maybe like my goal was to like realistically to play Division 3 hockey. And I thought that was something to like strive for. So never in my wildest dreams did I think I would make it as far as I did. Um, yeah, so I think that senior year of high school, like I saw my brother, he went to Northwood in Lake Placid. He ended up committing to Hobart, and I thought he was better than me, and I still to this day think he was a better hockey player than me. But yeah, he made it to D3, so I figured, hey, maybe it's a shot for me. And then when that whole Lake Placid Northwood thing kind of fell through, I was like, well, maybe it's just not meant to be. And I've always kind of been that gritty, like blue collar type player, and that's always kind of been my mentality away from the rink as well. So I kind of took it personal when they said, hey, we don't have a spot for you anymore. And I think that was like the big driving force for me was, coming from high school hockey, it's like you said, it's such a road less traveled. You don't hear a lot of people do that, especially in New York. It's not like it's Minnesota high school hockey where it's like you can go right to college from high school. So it was definitely motivating to me when I got turned away from Northwood. And I think that's when I really hit me like, hey, like I'm going to try to like give this a shot. And so I started like training and doing, like one-on-one sessions and just putting in all this time. And I think that's kind of what got me to that next step in Ottawa. And I don't know, I think it's definitely a road less travel, but it's not impossible. And that's what I try to tell people is like, if you're good enough and like you put in that work, like I think you could make it like as far as you want to go. But at the same time too, you definitely have to be realistic and working with kids now and helping out in like camps locally. The big question with parents is like, well, where should my kid play? And like my answer is always the same to that question is first you need to find a realistic league that you can play in. And then you have to find a team that you're going to play consistently. Like you could go to the U show and play like half the games, not get noticed. Like, but inside they feel good because like, oh, I'm a USHL player. But like, I don't. To me, that was like eye opening because I was like, oh, like I want to play in these big leagues and like the CCHL is a fairly good league. I would say one of the top ones in Canada, but it's not like the BC or you know what I mean, like the USHL. So I think being realistic definitely was for me what I had to do is just put my head down and grind and then kind of set realistic expectations that I think I was going to play at the University of Maine my first year in Ottawa. No way. After my first year, I was looking at like Western New England, a couple of like D3 schools, nothing like zero D1 interest. I remember talking to a Division 1. I talked to it was Bowling Green. They came out to one game my first year. We played Carleton Place. They've been one of the top teams in the CC, and we got pumped like 8-3. I was like -4. Never heard from them again. I was like, well, there goes my shot.
Yeah.
So to have it all kind of work out, it was I'm definitely thankful for everyone I've had in my corner, and it's been a fun ride for sure.
Yeah. No, and one thing I want to say just to add to what you were saying before about like the blue collar mentality and for those listening who don't know, like Rob Michael's a highly skilled defenseman. So I think he had like seriously though, like skate, can walk the line, like highly skilled, in my opinion. I mean, and I just think that like you had like the perfect storm of ton of skill, but the right mentality that you're gonna persevere through anything. And like you said, I love what you said about taking it personally. I think a lot of people need to start doing that more if they are serious about their dreams. Like you could have easily been like, oh, okay, Northwood didn't work out. Okay. Like, but no, you took it like, no, like, you kidding me? Yeah. Like you screwed, like, for lack of a better term, you screw me over like this. Like, no, I'm taking this personally. And you use that fuel to catapult you in your development. And I think that that's awesome. And there's something to be said for that. And now, where you played speaks for itself because of that.
And like I don't want to seem like I'm bashing Northwood because at the end of the day, like I was fresh out of high school, like who knew how I was going to develop, and it was kind of a long shot. So I definitely can understand it. It's just, yeah, I definitely use that as fuel and like I just didn't want to seem like I'm
I
I'm
know.
passionate.
Hey, I'll join you with you. I mean, I had a list of
Yeah,
people. I had a list of people that on my iPhone notes of that would tell me I'd never played Division One. It was
yeah,
like a 10-person list. Um,
yeah, man.
and I just would look at it every day, and I'm
Yeah,
happy that
'cause
they
that's
told me I wouldn't. If they told
right.
me, yeah, you will, then I can just
You're
sit
like,
back and
eh,
relax. Yeah,
yeah, it's fuel, man. I'm telling you.
yeah,
And like, I didn't want to be that person that was just like, woe is me. Like, oh, it's just like how it's meant to be. Like, I wanted to take control of like my own destiny, like my own fate. And I think like that's obviously a huge step. Like, you can't just obviously sit back and wait for things to happen, or just sulk that you didn't get this opportunity. Like, things are gonna like happen, whether like they're gonna be out of your control for the most part. And I think you just gotta like almost roll with it and just do what you can like control, and then the rest just take it in stride.
exactly. No, and we could segue into other topics regarding this, but I'm just saying, like, I think those 2 points are huge too. And then one thing I've realized now that I think I failed to do more so was both those things and enjoying all of it. It's not gonna be perfect.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just important to enjoy the game while you can, because when it's over, all you look back on is like the great times. You're not gonna really, there's some times where it was tough, but when you look back, it's the best game on earth, and you should just enjoy everything that comes with it. So,
Right.
I want to just kind of transition now to your pro experience, and getting that American League contract, how that felt, and how that experience was playing pro. Obviously pre-COVID, it messed everything up, but how that was for you.
Yeah, it was that first couple months in Lehigh were super eye opening. Just going from like college to professional, like not having to do classwork and just seeing how like a professional hockey player like day in and day out goes about his business.
Mhm.
Definitely eye opening. And I can still remember my first shift. We were playing the Cleveland Monsters, and I got hemmed in for like 3 minutes in our D zone, and they ended up scoring. And I sat for like the rest of that period. I was just like, yeah, that sounds about right. It's a good start. Oh my god.
That is a
And
hot start.
I was gonna say the next game went a little better. I got absolutely rocked by Devontae Smith Pelly. He was down like injured, so he was just kind of recovering on a conditioning stint. And I went back to retrieve the puck, came around the corner or came around the net and didn't see him, and he just absolutely lit me up, like knocked the wind out of me. I was just like gasping for air getting back on the bench. But
Uh,
yeah, back to your point about like actually having fun and like enjoying the game. Like this past my last season, I guess it was. Um, so I was kind of riding on a high a bit, like finished the year in Lehigh, feeling good. Certain promises were kind of being made about where I would land. I was actually down in Voorhees, New Jersey at their training facility, skating with like their young prospects, lifting, taking advantage of all those opportunities, because you never know like when it's going to end or when it's going to be taken from you. So I figured I'm going to dive in head first. And yeah, camp came around. I was at rookie camp for Philly, and then I was at their main camp on like it was kind of there were two teams, and then it was like me and a couple other guys, a couple college guys. And I remember on the last day, like a couple of the D men got hurt with Philly, so I got to like skate with one of those teams, and like just you're almost starstruck a bit. Like you're playing with like I went up against Drew a couple times, like just like, I watch you on TV. So it definitely
like,
it
you
definitely
know,
takes like a minute or two to be like, all right, I feel like I kind of belong here, but like I could keep up with you,
yeah,
like
yeah, of
maybe not on a
course.
consistent basis, but so that was such a cool experience. And then, I mean, obviously didn't expect to make Philly, and so I got sent down to Lehigh, and then a couple days into camp, I ended up getting sent down to Reading, and that was to me super eye opening. And I don't think I handled it the best that I could have. I think I was similar to that Lake Placid situation where I kind of took it personal, where um, but in this way, I think it was a little bit toxic. And, I didn't start off the greatest in Reading. And it became so goal focused. Like I was all thinking oh, like I need to put up these points. Like I need to score these goals. I need to have a good plus minus. Like I need to be on the power play. Is someone in Philly like in the stands right now? Like I just gave up a goal. Like how's that going to look? And like I think my play suffered so much because I was so focused on getting back up rather than just being present and like being task focused and being like in the moment of the game. And like I was in a very dark place for the first couple months, like questioning my ability and like seeing other guys get called up over me, that I was like, how are these guys getting called up? And like I think part of it had to do with my kind of mentality, and a lot of it I figured out later was there's such a business side to professional hockey that you really don't see at the college level. And it's the way I look at it is they're looking at you as almost like an investment. Like what's their rate of return on you? Like are they going to call up the 25, 26-year-old college guy, or do they want to call up like their draft pick that's 18, 19, 20 years old? So it's a little bit of both there. And I think I don't want to get too deep into the business side of it because I know it exists, and there's a lot of backdoor stuff that goes on. But yeah, I think that was definitely eye-opening and definitely frustrating for me trying to navigate getting back up to the AHL. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
it's disheartening is what it is. I mean,
100%.
because it's such a. I had someone describe this to me in a way that was so like perfect, and it was like, and I'm not trying to like bash anyone or anything, but like organizations know how much these kids love the game and know how much they're willing to do for it, and it's like exploited, to be honest. Like that, and I just, and when you experience it firsthand, it sucks because you're just like, wow, I'm not even a human being to these guys. And
Yeah.
that's why looking back, I wish I was able to separate like my personal emotions and my feelings of like me as a person from like the game and just be like whatever about it. But I don't know. Do you have like a similar kind of thought process on that, or just realizing those kind of things?
Yeah. And I think it really hit me like probably mid-December. I was like, like it got to the point where I was just like, I can't like play. I can't like live like this. I was like, I need to like switch up my mindset completely. And I think that's kind of what I did. It became kind of like a fuck you attitude. I don't know if you mind me swearing, but
No, go ahead.
it literally was like I'm just gonna play for me. And like that's kind of where everything turned around, like December on until like March. Like it was just I didn't care about like who was watching or what my plus minus was or whatever. And I was just playing to have fun. Like I was messing around. I was doing like stupid shit. Like and it started like working. Like I started like putting up points. Things just started happening naturally. Like I felt like I wasn't trying to force anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has a lot to do with just like you said, playing for fun. And like that's why you got into the game in the first place, was like to have fun. Like it's for the love of the game, not for the paycheck or the status or whatever. So yeah, I think once I kind of switched up my mindset and just had that kind of fuck you mentality, it was all probably one of the best like seasons I've had, and probably the most fun I've had. Like we had such a good group, and once I kind of bought in, that's really when it was just probably the best hockey I've played.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I often think back and like I think I cared too much about hockey. You know, maybe I should have not cared as much about it, and like you said, had fun with it and just messing around and trying different things. And that's what, like you said, started to click for you. I think that's when it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're on the other side of it, talk about kind of how that transition's been, and the transition from, hockey to the real world, I guess, and what you've been up to kind of now, and kind of how that process was, how you navigated it, and kind of the feelings like leaving the game and kind of shedding that skin.
Mhm. Yeah. So once the season was canceled in March, my fiance and I were still staying in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then our lease was up, so we figured let's go back to Syracuse and we'll figure it out from there. And it was so like uncertain, like no one knew the start date for the next season. It kept getting pushed back and pushed back, and you weren't seeing any like HL contracts being signed, because if they signed you, it's like guaranteed money. Like they have to pay you regardless if there was a season or not. So you weren't seeing like any AHL contracts come out. So that was the big, I was on a fence with that, because I was like, do I just sign in the coast? Do I go back to Reading? Do I explore my options? So I initially signed with Reading. I think it was like in June maybe, or July. And then within like the next week or two, the North Division completely like canceled for the next year. So I was like, sweet. And then funny enough, I ended up getting engaged in July as well. So that threw another kind of question mark in the mix. Like, what do I do? And then I kind of just sat down and kind of reflected, like, do I want to keep kind of chasing the dream? Like I see guys like I know, or like that we know, like Swavely was just grinding like in the AHL and coast back and forth, and like talk about like the business side of things. Like he would play a game in Reading, or like be ready to go in Reading, and like just get a phone call and have to like drive up to like Allentown and like be expected to do that. And they definitely take advantage of the location for sure. Like Philly, Reading, and Allentown all being within under 2 hours of each other. So I was like, do I really want to grind out in the coast again? And I like just recently engaged. And so I sat down, I was like, I played high school hockey. I didn't even think I was going to play D3. Like this is farther than I think anyone thought I would get. And like, I thought I would get. So I just didn't feel like I had anything else to kind of like prove to anyone or myself. And so I kind of made the decision there to just hang them up. And so from there, I was working at my like cousin's liquor store for a bit. And that was like when I was trying to decide. And then I decided, and I was like, I got a degree. I might as well use the thing. You know what I mean? So I ended up getting an engineering job here in Syracuse, and it's been pretty good. It's definitely a transition period. And I know I talked to you about this like Instagram post I saw about like high level athletes, and like once they retire, like you have such like a feel like an emptiness, and like you spend your whole life like searching for these like positive affirmations and getting these trophies and awards and whatever, and to just have that all gone, you have such like this pit in your stomach, and like you just feel lost, like something's missing. And so for me, and I've always been this type of person where I need like structure. Like the planners we got in like high school and like college, like I would like chart them out and do grids, and like my whole day would be planned for like half-hour intervals. And so once I stopped playing, I was like, that was kind of my like escape. I was like, I need to like figure out something to do. So now I've actually decided to try to do an Ironman. And I don't know if, for those that don't know, it's a full one is like a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then a marathon. My workout schedule is like blocked out. I have all like my work that I have to do like blocked out. So I think for me, this was like, I need to like kind of fill that void with something like positive, you know what I mean? Because I think that's where you can get some dangerous stuff, is you can kind of turn and find like these vices of whatever, like things you don't want to be doing to kind of fill that void. So I say that, and I've started a bourbon channel with my brother, so I don't know how much that counts, but no, yeah, the Ironman's been good, and I've been it's funny because as hockey players, like we don't train, like I'm not a runner at all.
Yeah.
Like we do sprints, but like I remember starting, and I could barely do a mile without being just like absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
Like chest on fire. And I never learned to swim either. So the whole thing's just been like, it's fun because you can like fall in love it all over again with like the process of like learning something new. Like back with hockey, like learning new skills and whatever stuff like that. It's like, it's like a new thing for me to kind of deep dive in.
Mhm.
So it's been a weird transition to answer your question, a long answer, from like retiring to now, like trying to find a new like hobby to kind of fill that void has been challenging, to say the least.
Yeah, man, that emptiness is like, it's like no other. Like it's literally, I think, the worst feeling ever. Just because it's something that you've done your whole life. It's been your whole identity. It's who you are, which is actually dangerous looking back. Like, I mean, sports psychologists talk about it all the time, like separating yourself from the game and like don't identify yourself. But it's hard when literally everything is surrounded by this sport and people come into your life because of it. Things happen in your life and your path and your location, like there's so much happens because of this sport and you do so much for it that to just be like, oh, it's over. It's like not an easy transition at all. And it's like that huge void is just, it's heavy, man. And like you said, like you got to fill that time. And I think one of the biggest things I tell kids is like, do other stuff now while you're still playing. Like explore other stuff now too on the side, just have fun. So that way when it is over, you're not scrambling. Like, for example, I was like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks as far as like things I like to do, you know what I mean? And I'm just like in scramble mode trying to do everything. I'm just like, holy smokes, like what? I mean, it's like, I think it's just important for people to kind of don't be just a hockey player. I mean, try and do other stuff because when it does
especially
come
like you said, like early on, because like once you get even to like the junior level, I mean, you probably have a fair amount of time. Junior hockey, just you can even then still explore like different things, like pick up an instrument, take a class, whatever. But like once you get to the college level, like good luck.
Exactly.
Like you won't have the time. And then from there it's like it's all hockey all the time.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely start early to pick up on something. So at least when you're done, you have a different kind of avenue to explore.
And I feel like a hypocrite saying that because like, I mean, I was all in, and I think that's the reason why I ended up getting to where I got, and that's fine. But you need something just to kind of turn your brain off for a little bit, you know. And we barely even talked about this, but you're an engineering major in college. Talk about how you handled that too. That's another immense amount of stress. I mean, I'd see you on the bus after games. It's like 2 a.m. and you're on your computer coding, and I was getting a headache looking at you do the work. But I'm also completely on the other side of the school spectrum. But talk about that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have the normal college experience, I wouldn't say. Between the time commitment of a Division I schedule and then the course load of a electrical engineering degree, like I said, I pretty much had to be structured. I wouldn't say I'm normally a structured person, but like I had to be just to like stay afloat. And I think the first like 2 months of freshman year, I was like at my breaking point. Like, especially being a 21-year-old freshman, like we played junior hockey for 2 years. Like I took like one class a semester to stay like part-time in juniors just to like knock out gen eds, but going to that full jump full time plus hockey, like I was like taking like calc 1 and 2, physics, chemistry for engineers. Like I was so overwhelmed. And I actually watched your interview with Schmitty, and like one thing I would say is like know what's available to you. Like I didn't even know we had a psychologist like in the health center. Like we had Chrissy, but we didn't have like Doc Wally at the time either.
Yeah.
But like if we had, like would I have reached out? I don't know. Like I think learning about all these things after the fact, I'm really mad at myself for not reaching out for like help.
Yeah, but you can't beat yourself up for it too, because one thing I will say is, man, we had no clue. Like I remember going up to a therapy session, and I look at the building. And I was like, "It's like go to this building." Someone said, I guess the therapist was like, "Yeah, I'm in this building." I'm like, "Where is this building?" Bro, it's right next to the softball field on campus, and we walk by it every single day going to practice, and we had no clue.
No.
And I'm like, "Where is this building?" And I'm like, "What? It's been here the whole time."
I pulled up like the map of
yeah, exactly.
campus.
I'm just like, so that's why you can't beat yourself up for it. And,
Yeah.
but it's just like, yeah, I mean, It's funny too that you say it because I had no clue that you kind of had these feelings. You're someone that not hides it, but you're very composed, I'd say, and
Mm.
you carry yourself in a certain demeanor, and so I just never figured that like like Recky could use some support. It's funny, but because I'm very outward
Yeah.
about it, but you're quieter about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely hide that side of me a bit and try to like put up that false front a bit. But I was really fortunate enough just to have like my parents and my girlfriend at the time, and just like buddies from high school that I could kind of reach out to. But
Mhm.
I've always been that kind of person that was like, I never asked for help. I was like, I can figure it out. Like I have a very hard time asking for help even now, and I know it. But so like going to school, I was like, I'm not like I wasn't talking to any of my classmates. Like I wasn't getting any tutors, like using my resources at all. And so I think that was another big switch for me was like I need to be okay asking like for help on like an emotional side as well as like in the classroom.
Mhm.
So I definitely that was a big like step for me, and especially with my grades too. Like I remember second semester like I got a tutor, like I started like talking with classmates, like meeting up for like study sessions and like helping with homework, and even going to the professor too. Like I was so afraid to like talk to my professors. I don't like it might be a little different for engineering because a lot of them were like foreign and like had accents, but like and they seem like they put up like this like robotic front, but they're just people. Like they're there to help
Mhm.
you. Like and you shouldn't be afraid to like ask them for help.
Yeah. You know
And
what? I agree. How did you seek help from an emotional standpoint?
yeah, so I especially when Doc Wally like hopped on board, he definitely helped me a bit with at least on the ice emotionally. Like I used to take like the dumbest penalties and like I would get super heated and get rattled pretty easily. So the big thing was like kind of the three words or phrases to kind of like recenter you. And I can still remember mine. It was sprint, swagger, and shoot. And like to those points, like swagger was my big one. Is like when I'm playing with confidence, I feel like I have like this swagger, like
Mhm.
I can like do anything. So
Yeah.
I think he definitely helped me kind of like center myself and get back to like I know he used like grounding, like ground yourself, like be in the moment. So he definitely helped me a ton with my emotions on the ice.
Yeah. Doc Wally was huge. I think he helped me out immensely as well. I think he was good at tailoring to each person
Mhm.
what works best for them. Because for me, it was about like a bunch of off ice stuff. For you, it was kind of your on ice emotional stuff. But I mean, it's awesome that he was part of the team, and I think more schools and programs need to get people like that on board so they can really be beneficial. Um,
100%. And like even on your platform alone, like I feel like I've seen so many guys come on and like he gets so involved with so many different teams and like it can only help. Like I don't see why you wouldn't want that for your student athlete. Like someone who can like understands what you're going through and kind of tailor like a program to help you like perform better on
yep.
the ice or in the classroom or just functioning like normal. Like I don't
Hmm.
see how that wouldn't help. So yeah, I'm definitely a big advocate of like what he does, 100%.
Oh, no doubt. Like you said, the overwhelming part. There's so much going on in college. I mean, I can't even imagine you. I was overwhelmed. I was just a communications major. I can't, and I can't even imagine how you felt. You know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah,
but I was more vocal about it, and I was like all over the place. You were calm, cool, collected, and just like, damn.
I was
But
just bottling it up.
yeah, exactly. But no, if you had any piece of advice to give anybody that is going through, that transition phase or kind of anything like along the path of your story, like someone who's deciding whether to play junior or someone who's going through a tough time emotionally or feeling overwhelmed, or just some piece of advice that you would have wanted to know kind of at your low points, what would that be?
Yeah, I'd probably say two things. And I kind of touched on both of them, but like no like don't be afraid to like ask for help. And I know that's such like a big theme for like what you're trying to do here. And but it's so simple, but it's for some reason so hard to do. And I know firsthand. And like just knowing what resources are available to you, like your student advisor or like a psychologist or like Doc Wally or like a peer. Like it's so simple, but I feel like it needs to keep being said so that it's understood, because I knew that, but I refused to do it. It takes a bit and like a little bit of courage and like humility to be like, all right, I need to ask for help. So I think that would be the one big thing. And then probably the second thing would be back to just the having the fun aspect of like doing what you're doing. Like there should be some level of like enjoyment and fun that you get out of what you're doing, whether that's a sport or a job or hobby or what have you. So like if you're not having fun, like you're in it for the wrong reason, I think, because it's just not enjoyable. Like you should be having fun. So I'd say keep doing what you're doing if you're having fun, and then once that kind of fun dies down or you're just not into it anymore, like maybe it's time to like explore a new avenue.
Yeah, I love it. That's perfect. And that's really good advice, Rec. But yeah, and also if you want to give a quick shot before we finish up here, Brothers Bottled and Bond, your YouTube channel, talk about it.
Yeah, so my brother's down in Georgia, so I see him like 1 or 2 times a year, but you know, we've always been close, and I like to stay in touch. And he's made his full transformation to a Southerner. He has a gun, has a dog, has a truck, drinks bourbon. So he kind of got me into bourbon, and I figured, hey, let's kind of start a bourbon YouTube channel. So yeah, we've only done a few, and it's just something honestly for us to kind of really just hang out, and we figured might as well throw it up on YouTube, us being kind of idiots. So yeah, we're Brothers Bottled and Bond. If anyone's interested,
check it out. They know what they're talking about. They use words like notes and oak.
Notes.
But yeah, no, Recky, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on and tell your story and just being open and vulnerable. I know it's, like you said, it's not easy, but it's greatly appreciated. I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there who are gonna listen, and these messages are gonna resonate with them. So it's gonna help out a lot of people. So thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Danny.